The entire restaurant fell silent the moment I stood up from the table. Every pair of eyes was fixed on me, waiting for my humiliation to become the night's entertainment. The woman sitting across from me rested a trembling hand on her pregnant stomach, fighting back tears while pretending not to notice the whispers spreading through the room. My so-called friends laughed into their drinks, convinced they had created the perfect prank. They believed no decent man would stay seated after discovering his blind date was several months pregnant. They expected me to storm out, leaving her embarrassed in front of everyone. What none of them knew was that this single moment would expose the cruelty hidden inside their hearts and reveal a truth that would change every life in that room forever. If you believe kindness is stronger than cruelty and everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone you care about, and leave a comment below. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that inspire hope and compassion. My name is Nathan, and I lived in Columbus, Ohio, where I worked as an emergency room nurse. My job had taught me that pain rarely looked the way people imagined. Behind every smile was often a silent battle, and behind every judgment was usually a story nobody had bothered to hear. Still, nothing prepared me for what happened on that rainy Friday evening when several coworkers insisted they had arranged a blind date for me. They promised she was kind, intelligent, and exactly the type of woman I deserved after years of putting everyone else before myself. I reluctantly agreed, believing they genuinely wanted to see me happy. When I walked into the restaurant, I immediately noticed a beautiful young woman sitting alone by the window. Her name was Grace. She had gentle blue eyes filled with sadness, and although she smiled politely, there was a heaviness in her expression that words could never hide. Only after I sat down did I realize she was visibly pregnant. Before either of us could say much, I heard laughter coming from the other side of the restaurant. My coworkers had secretly gathered several tables away, watching us like spectators waiting for a comedy show. Everything suddenly made sense. They had arranged this date only to see my reaction. To them, a pregnant woman was something to mock, and I was the fool they expected to panic. Grace lowered her eyes, clearly realizing she had been deceived as well. Her hands trembled, as if she had lived through this kind of humiliation before. The room felt unbearably heavy, but instead of standing up and leaving, I asked the waiter to bring us dinner. The laughter slowly faded as the evening continued. Instead of awkward silence, Grace and I found ourselves talking for hours. She shared that she had recently moved to Ohio after escaping an abusive relationship in Tennessee. The father of her unborn daughter had abandoned her the moment he learned she was pregnant. She had lost friends, family support, and even her apartment before finally finding temporary housing through a local church. Every sentence carried incredible pain, yet she spoke with remarkable strength. She wasn't asking anyone to rescue her. She simply wanted a chance to build a better future for her child. As I listened, I realized how unfairly the world often judged people without knowing their battles. Grace wasn't someone who deserved pity. She was one of the bravest people I had ever met. While others saw only a pregnant woman sitting alone, I saw courage wrapped in exhaustion, hope hidden beneath heartbreak, and unconditional love already growing for a little girl who had not yet entered the world. Across the restaurant, my coworkers stopped laughing altogether. Some looked uncomfortable. Others quietly avoided eye contact. The joke had failed because compassion refused to play along. When dinner ended, I walked Grace to her car through the pouring rain. Before leaving, she thanked me for treating her like a human being instead of a punchline. Her words stayed with me long after the taillights disappeared into the darkness. Over the following months, we stayed in touch. I helped her assemble baby furniture, drove her to doctor's appointments whenever my shifts allowed, and introduced her to people who genuinely cared about her well-being. Little by little, her laughter returned. She began believing that not everyone in the world wanted something from her. Then came the night her daughter was born. After a long shift, I rushed straight to the hospital room carrying a tiny stuffed lamb. Grace smiled through exhausted tears as she placed baby Hannah into my arms. Looking down at that peaceful little face, I understood something I had never fully realized before. Family is not always created by blood. Sometimes it begins with a simple decision to show kindness when everyone else chooses cruelty. News of our friendship spread through the hospital. Several coworkers who had participated in the prank eventually approached me with sincere apologies. One admitted she had never considered how deeply the joke could hurt someone already carrying unimaginable emotional burdens. Another confessed she had spent months feeling ashamed every time she remembered Grace's face that night. They apologized to her personally, and although forgiveness wasn't easy, Grace chose not to carry bitterness into her daughter's future. The experience transformed more than just our lives. Our hospital eventually partnered with a local shelter supporting single mothers, and many employees volunteered after witnessing Grace's journey. What started as an act of cruelty unexpectedly inspired an entire community to become more compassionate. Years later, little Hannah ran across a sunny park calling my name with the biggest smile I had ever seen. Watching Grace laugh freely while her daughter chased butterflies reminded me that one decision made in a crowded restaurant had rewritten all of our futures. The people who planned that cruel joke wanted humiliation. Instead, they accidentally created hope, healing, and a family built on kindness rather than circumstance. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Your support helps these messages of compassion reach people who may desperately need hope today. Before you go, please comment, "Kindness always wins." It reminds everyone reading that even the smallest act of compassion can completely change someone's life. Sometimes the greatest victories are not won through revenge or anger. They are won by refusing to become as cruel as those who try to hurt us. A single evening meant to destroy two strangers instead became the beginning of a beautiful story proving that kindness can silence laughter, heal broken hearts, and change generations forever. If you'd like, I can also create the SEO title, description, keywords, hashtags, and disclaimer for this YouTube story.